The corruption case against Sheldon Silver started just this week, but the prosecution's already called a star witness onto the stand. Dr. Robert Taub testifying in exchange for immunity from prosecution. Now, the good doctor told the court he referred dozens of clients to Silver's law firm, hoping the former Assembly Speaker would give his research center $500,000 in state aid. Doctor said Silver also helped his own kids get jobs. Now, we can already see both sides setting up their strategies. Prosecutors opening up with three words: power, greed, and corruption. Defense saying, hey, Silver was just a product of the system, and he worked under what he called the citizen legislative model. All right, let's bring our panel to weigh in on this. And of course, we're going to be covering this trial here from beginning to end. Jimmy Kasuris. Jimmy's a criminal defense attorney in Manhattan, sitting on the board of directors for the New York City Criminal Bar Association, frequently lecturing at New York Law School, bar associations in Queens and New York City, as well as across the pond. Former assistant district attorney himself. Mayo Bartlett, attorney at the law offices of Mayo Bartlett PLLC, and a former chief of the Bias Crimes Unit at the Westchester County DA's office. And Dan Shore, an adjunct professor of law at Fordham University and former Yonkers Inspector General and criminal prosecutor in the county of Westchester and New York City. Gentlemen, thank you all very much. Okay. Jim, the prosecution, they said those three big words. And they said, no, this is not politics as usual. They said specifically, this is kickbacks and bribery. How devastating was the testimony of Taub today, where he basically said, in so many words, it kind of was a quid pro quo. You know, if I wanted the money, I knew that he liked the referrals. How much of this has to be explicit versus implied?
Well, his testimony is devastating if it holds up, because that is the prosecution's burden. That's their problem here. They need to show a quid pro quo. The defense, on the other hand, is taking the path of least resistance. They're essentially conceding the conduct and basically saying there's nothing wrong with it. It's been going on for 1,000,000 years. This is a part-time job. Everybody knows the system was designed for these people not only to work and serve New York, but also they need to make money on the side. He's got a law firm. He made referrals. Whatever money he gave for the cancer research was money that he was permitted to give. It was available to give. It was given for a good cause. And the fact that there were referrals and referral fees from legitimate cases is not illegal, and it's been going on forever.
How about the transparency part? The fact that it wasn't disclosed openly, that yes, I may be giving this guy $500,000 of taxpayer monies to do his research, and oh, just by the way, he's referring it to my firm, and oh, by the way, about $3 million all told here, when it's all said and done, went in my pocket.
Well, the defense is going to say there was nothing hidden. What wasn't disclosed is the criminality you're alleging, because there was no criminality. It was clearly disclosed that he gave the money. It came from Silver. It went to do the research. It was clearly disclosed that the cases were referred to the law firm, and Silver got the referral fee. So basically the defense is saying everything was out there, but what wasn't disclosed was what was criminal, because it didn't happen.
Dan, there's this case, and then there's also the real estate case. And depending on who you talk to, they say one's more damning than the other. I think Jimmy laid out perfectly as to the arguments that both sides are presenting, but which is the bigger hurdle here if you're the defense team? That this just has a really bad whiff to it, or that, you know, you can convince people who look at Albany cynically, if you believe the polls here, and I certainly would believe that the jury is going to feel the same way, that, hey, this is just how it goes.
Right, and the defense has to say this is how it goes. The prosecution is saying you're taking what are bribes and kickbacks and turning them into referral fees, so that way it looks kosher even though it's not. And the defense is really saying, look, Albany just functions this way and you have to accept that. The prosecution theory, though, if this witness holds up, as Jim said, very powerful, and Preet usually doesn't bring cases like this unless he thinks they can prove this. When you have research funds going to a doctor who's then referring cases, and then the head of a house of the legislature getting millions of dollars, this isn't just someone working as a lawyer on the side while being a citizen legislator. This is getting millions of dollars. It certainly smells like something's wrong. That doesn't mean it's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, and that's the prosecution's burden, but it certainly looks bad for the speaker.
Well, I want to get to the burden here, because beyond a reasonable doubt, but this is going to get dense in a little bit in terms of how money changed hands. They're going to have flow charts to explain how it went from the state to the doctor to the law firm to Silver, and they got to follow the P. Really, and you've been on both sides of this, Mayor. You've been both the prosecutor and obviously a defense attorney. What are you trying to get in the jury's head? Is it just that, hey, he's not an angel here, but all the other kids do it? And the other one's saying, pure and simple, it's your money, taxpayers. You're getting hustled out of this thing, too. What are they trying to convey beyond the letter of the law? What's the messaging to the jury?
A lot of it is going to be a popularity contest because you're going to deal with the fact that a lot of your jurors are not going to understand the finances. They're not going to follow that. Just like in a DNA case, a lot of them don't have the scientific background. A lot of the lawyers don't, judges don't, to understand the actual evidence, which begs the question, how do you prove that case beyond a reasonable doubt? But here, one of the things I think that they're going to be trying to do, certainly from the defense side, is to say, okay, you know, here's this doctor. He's such a great guy. He's here to testify. Well, he's testifying so he doesn't get prosecuted. So now you have to wonder, is he here out of the kindness of his heart, and can you trust what he's telling you? So when he was engaged in this, if you want to call it a scheme or this agreement, before anybody got charged, he was perfectly fine with it, didn't feel that anything was wrong with it. Now all of a sudden, because he's the target of or possible target person of interest in a criminal investigation, he's willing to change his story. So we would always say, well, when were you not telling the truth? Was it the first time when you said everything was above board, or is it now when you're trying to say, you know, he was wrong, I knew it, but don't prosecute me? So a lot of it really is going to come down to, it's almost a cult of personality. You're going to have someone, either you like that person or you don't. Unfortunately, as we've talked about millions of times, you know, it really comes down to getting politics in a position where money's out of it.
And let's look at the vacuum this is in, Jimmy. 2 weeks from now, you're going to have the former Senate Majority Dean Skelos on trial. That one, you got audio tapes and all that. We'll talk about that one, right? But, I mean, Albany is really on trial here. And I love, it was, for me at least, fascinating. This is one of those where I'd love to sit in the peanut gallery, and our own Dominic Carter is going to be sitting in on this case, and we're going to be getting reports every day, which is, okay, you're putting these guys on the stand, and who will make the witness list and who won't. Some of the names are fascinating. It plays like a soap opera with some of them.
They're not going to be on the stand.
Right, but with an approval rating of less than 10% when it comes to folks in Albany, is it just enough to say, you hate Albany? Me too. This guy was one of the 3 guys in the room. If they can just say, this is as bad as it gets, doesn't matter what they say, is that really enough here to secure a conviction, you think?
It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be, and you always have to worry that the flavor of the month is going to override proof beyond a reasonable doubt, because that would be a travesty. Look, we don't like the way Albany operates, and that has become a major issue. But you can't just prosecute somebody and just throw that out as proof beyond a reasonable doubt. And I have to say, turning around and saying, listen, this has been going on for years. Well, so have bank robberies and murders, and you know, they're not legal. I think the defense needs to be a lot more specific and not say, this has been going on for years. What's been going on for years is people in this position, they make referrals, they get referral fees. And as far as these are your taxpayer dollars, the defense has to also say, nobody lost anything. This money went for real research that really helped people,
except
and somebody
got enriched, okay? And the person who got enriched the most, it seems, was the former speaker. And I think, if I was sitting in that jury box, and I know we're going to have to see the instructions and everything else, but if they can establish, hey, there's a quid pro quo. This guy wasn't doing it for his health.
Then it's over.
Then it seems like it's easy.
The bigger issue really is that this is a Band-Aid on cancer. Okay, really what we're talking about is not reforming the system itself. And until you get to the point that you realize that these jobs are not part-time jobs.
But you know what, Mayo, you know what? If you have 2 of the 3 guys in the room doing a perp walk, right? I mean, or getting cuffed and stuffed at the end of this thing here, that's going to be a message. I already know, because I got assembly people here seemingly every other day this week. There has been a chill that's going on because you don't know who's next. You have assembly members and senators, state senators, who have worn wires on each other.
That's right.
You have people who flipped on other people here. I don't know what's going to even happen in the Scully's case, but I know this much. Between these two trials, there will be more names that will come out because everybody's trying to save their hide. It will have to change, and I know this much also. The new crop, they have one job, which is now they're a full-time legislator
should
and they're
be.
not holding on second
Well,
jobs.
that's what
it
needs
should
to
have been all
happen.
along.
Those type of changes need to happen because all of these people that are shaking in their boots, they're also wondering, well, where is the line? Can you not get jobs for people? Can you not? I mean,
And
stuff
that's,
that's
there's your defense right there.
And also,
that's what
we
you're
don't want to
talking
admit
about.
it, but then you got to pay these guys a full-time job,
Yeah.
right?
That's right.
But there's a big difference between needing another job to support your family on the side and getting millions of dollars in referral fees that come about from someone you're helping get grant money for.
And primarily, it's the leadership guys, or the guys who run the committee and
Yeah.
stuff. And that's why so much of this was so non-transparent that it's only now coming out. So it's fascinating. All right, got to jump to break. When we come back, is it race discrimination if people of a certain color are intentionally kept off a jury? Well, that is what the U.S. Supreme Court has to decide. This could really be a game changer.